already making money for the bar.
That's the problem with the black community, man. We have to be smart to understand that I've been giving you what you've been asking for 7 years, and you ain't giving me nothing back in return.
Well, we're easy. We're easy targets for agendas. It's just we can.
But it's not. It doesn't have to happen because look at Joel Osteen. He does the same thing.
Yeah, a lot of his members are black and Mexican. When I went there, but I mean, one of the white people in there in Joel Osteen's church.
You know, I give these pastors a bad rap, but I mean, you got to say it's a lot to be said for the accountability of the church goals. You know what I'm saying? Like they don't hold them, they don't ask for an accounting of the funds. You talk about this building fund that's been up for the last 15 years, but where's the money going? Have you asked for the receipts on stuff? You know, you talk about, I mean, you're giving this pastor the love offering, the what is it, like 3 or 4 different offerings that they give during a time frame. Say for what? If your past, like I think really and truthfully, there should be a cap on how much. If this is a nonprofit organization. Right. So, which means if it's a nonprofit organization, the goal of the pastor should not to be to make money, and there should be some kind of limit and check and balance on that.
Why?
Why?
I mean, how do you set a limit on that? If
because it's a nonprofit.
If you go to a church and there are 3 different funds, there's a building fund, an intercessory fund, a church fund, and a tithe and offering fund. You decide where your money goes, just like right now. No.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. But you can't sit up here and say
government regulation on a church like that.
I'm not talking about the government.
You're talking about putting a max on what they can make.
No, he's saying the church itself.
The church itself. Like you can't say as a church, if you bring in $100 million, if you bring in $1 million, that the pastor should make $500,000 as a nonprofit organization.
Why not?
Because it is a non-profit. It becomes a profit organization for that
conflating terms. Non-profit doesn't mean you can't make money.
No, I
There's
know.
nothing wrong with somebody making money.
I agree. But the whole dedication of a church is to be,
decides that's how they want to spend their money, then let them spend their money.
But that's ridiculous.
That's their decision to make.
Look, it is a not-for-profit organization that is supposed to be centered around helping the community. If half of your money goes back into the hands of the pastor as his salary, that is not helping the community. I don't pay money to a church. I don't tithe to it. No, I don't tithe to a church. Listen to what I'm saying, dude. I don't tithe to a church just for the pastor to make money. I tithe to a church to grow the community around.
What about another way? What about if he doesn't build it?
Control how your tithing goes.
He opens up another building.
You can control
or real estate that he owns. The pastor owns for the church, and he makes money off that. It's the same thing. You still get moving funds.
Why can't he do that out of his salary? He should do his personal ventures out of his salary.
Well, you look at white churches.
You can't take your company credit card and open up a.
So what about a white church that has a lot of
because
white people have more money? I got a lot of multi-millionaire white people who give me a lot of donation because they get the tax write-off that they would have to pay anyway.
I mean, who cares about what white people? We keep using white people in our litmus test as if white is right. There's nothing about what. The only thing that white people can teach you right now is how to manipulate the system and how to get over on some shit.
Exactly.
That's what the white people are showing you how to do. I don't want that for my black community. I don't want you to teach me how do I get over on the next man. No, I want us to actually build. We're not at the point where we can destroy each other. We have already destroyed. So teach me how to build up. Don't teach me how to manipulate some shit right now. That's bullshit. You talk about, well, white people do it like this. Fuck white people in regards to how to teach me.
They're not going to come in and show us how to make ourselves better because they have gotten to where they have by keeping us down.
No, and I agree with that. But I'm saying when you talk
about model yourself from your oppressor, man.
No, well they have. I think the church have took some from
but
that.
you're saying that's what you want to do.
No, I didn't say that. I'm in total disagreement of the whole church process.
So what was the point of you saying, well, the white churches do it like this?
Well, I'm telling you that we were discussing in the thing, black churches to white churches, and I was saying that they get their money a different way. It's not a dollar from each person in the community. They have a top 10% in there who wash their money that way.
But that's a different thing, man. If I have millions of dollars and I want to give it to a pastor to avoid paying taxes, a certain amount of taxes, that's different from your grandmother taking her last $20 and saying, I got to give 10 to the church because I got to pay my tithes, then I got to do pastor's anniversary, I got to do...
But she's doing it before my grandma used to take her $10 every day and play the 3-pick on lottery. Now, black people don't play lottery as much as they used to back then, but it used to be a big organization. And they were doing the same thing in hopes to win, losing their money.
Yeah, but at least that's in your control.
Okay, hold on. You can't fault the church about how people choose to, if they choose to give their money. No offense. If your grandmother chooses to give her last 20 to the church for its reasons,
but she's doing it. She's doing it.
Whatever her altruistic motives are, that is not the church. That is, it has to come down to personal responsibility. You are in control of your money. I go to church right now and I don't get it. I have it and I don't give.
You got it on
Right?
camera.
So if when I do decide to give, a lot of times I won't give to a church. I will give it to an organization, Living Water International, to a person. I will give to such a person that I've researched that I thought benefits a community, not just a black community, a community. But that is on me. We can't get mad at churches for saying the people are giving them money. Poor people don't control the damn money.
Man, so here's the thing, the problem that I see with what you just said. I agree that to an extent there is accountability that should be given by the patron. 100, because I just said that. I said that the patronage should hold accountability in what they say. However, you also talk about what he's saying, that this grandmother, who's the same grandmother who spent half of her $20 to give to the church, that's probably, because statistically speaking, that's probably the same type of grandmother who comes from a poor, uneducated background, who has been taught that the church is the saving grace for her redemption in the community itself. So they are taking advantage of a vulnerable situation with which their churchgoers go. We've talked about vulnerability before. You talked about vulnerability in terms of the age with which you have sex with a young person, saying, well, at a certain age, if you smooth talk them, it's because they're vulnerable. So at what point do you start talking about them in terms of an age where they're mature enough to talk about it? The same vulnerability goes for a churchgoer. You can't take vulnerability and put it where you want to in select circumstances. Church members are vulnerable to their leadership.
Brendan, I have no idea what your comparison made no sense to me. But I will tell you this though. I think it is a sign of intellectual elitism to think you are smarter with money than your grandparents. The same people that went through the Great Depression. My grandmother did not make a lot of money, but she can save $1 out of 50 cents. She always had money. Those people lived off cash alone. They bought houses off cash. They paid bills solely with cash. They had the lights on, they had the power, they did not get foreclosed upon. They may not have the money power or the ability or the earning power we have, but when it comes to managing their budget, no, sir. I will not believe that we now are a generation of smart money spenders and our grandparents and foreparents were dumb money spenders duped by the church. No, they knew how to control their budget. They always had. That's why in today's generation, grandparents still always have. Yeah, somebody posted a stat that said in 1960s, 41% of African Americans own houses, right? And 19% of those are in 41% own houses and homes, right? That stat is still true today. In 2018, 42% of African Americans own houses and homes. We have increased 1% in home ownership, right? Damon, that is not a sign of financial security. But I'm sorry, our grandparents and those before us knew how to manage money.
They knew how to hold on to the little bit that they had. They didn't know how to give.
I will let you sit for 2 minutes. You have been talking nonstop, and I'll let you finish. If they choose to give their money, I will let you know when I'm done. If they choose to give their money to the church, that is their choice. And I refuse to say my grandparents are so dumb, I got to step in there and teach them how to spend their damn money. They know how to spend their money. If they want to give it to the church, I may not agree, but it's not the church's fault.
I mean, you
can't yet? Hold on, we want to make sure he's done before you
can't compare that era to ours, because you got to think, in the 1960s, black people weren't just buying homes off finance. They were building their own homes. They were building their own homes. They were building their own communities.
Is the grandma still controlling the church? They dying out slow.
Who do you know today builds their own home?
The difference you talk about, they knew just as much or more than we knew. They held on to the little bit that they had.
That was it.
Versus the ability to invest that money and know how. You can't tell me that they know stocks.
They didn't know stocks and bonds.
You can't tell me they don't know. They don't know.
They knew skills to make up for the things that they didn't have finances for.
They knew how to say, I have $3. I know that this loaf of bread is going to cost me 50 cents, so I'm going to have to pick and choose what's going to stay on, what's going to stay off, and what I can buy for this week. They knew how to manage the little bit that they had, but they didn't know how to grow it the way we know how to grow it today. So when you talk about the church today and the amount of money that we put forward, yes, there is a vulnerability, because that same grandmother instead of giving the $10 that she had to the church, Had she knew what we know now, she might have said, you know what, I'm going to
Still
give
would've
$3
gave
here
it,
because I
that's
have
her
this extra-
entertainment.
Exactly.
She going there every Sunday dressing up in her finest. Having fun. You spend on entertainment, you might go golfing. You might want to go to the gym membership. Everybody got the right to spend their
That is a
entertainment.
ship with which you have anchored yourself.
And
Not-
it is, sir.